Share screen. All right, welcome everyone. Come on in. Welcome to tonight's Zoom call. We have live Numi's founder, Stephen K. Scott, going to go over the evolution, the technology, everything about Numi. And this is a call that every week I'm excited that we're able to bring to the global community, not just folks who are already involved with Numi, but folks who are kind of checking us out and interested in learning what is going on with Numi and this amazing technology. So you have about 60 more seconds to continue inviting and making some phone calls and getting your guests, your team members, get them on the call because Steve always brings the good stuff. All right. Once again, welcome to tonight's call. Hey, in the chat section, kind of comment where everybody's dialing in from. It's always good to see and hear where folks are dialing in from. I know we got folks coming in from the UK. We got folks coming in from Canada, from the United States and Florida, Louisiana. Welcome everybody to the call. Tonight's presentation is in English. And so for our non-English speaking Numi family, we do have captions enabled. So here, take a listen.
Untuk mengaktifkan terjemahan bahasa Indonesia, silakan klik caption di panel laptop atau handphone Anda semua.
Para poder obtener la traducción en español, es necesario hacer clic en el menú de Zoom y elegir la opción Subtítulos en español.
大家好，如果你想看字幕，请按屏幕底下的 CC 按钮，选择中文。此功能仅适用于直播。
Bonjour, bienvenue à cet événement Numi. Vous pouvez activer les sous-titres dans votre langue en cliquant sur Sous-titres au bas de l'écran. Veuillez noter que cette option fonctionne uniquement dans la salle Zoom en direct. Merci et bonne écoute.
大家好，如果你想看字幕，請按屏幕底下嘅 CC 按鈕選擇中文。呢個功能淨係適用於直播。
All right. Once again, welcome to tonight's Thursday night's call. You know, I got opportunity to actually drive 8 hours a couple of years ago and meet Stephen K. Scott himself. I first learned about him from this book, The Richest Man Who Ever Lived. I love the content, and to actually be able to sit across from him and meet Stephen Scott himself, know his heart, his vision, his passion for not just the company, but for the technology that's really, to me, changing the wellness landscape across the entire globe. So with no further ado, Stephen K. Scott, my friend, take it away.
Hey, thank you. And welcome to everybody. I'm so glad to be back home. I don't have to travel now, it looks like, until December. So that's a very unusual experience for me to be able to go an entire month and a half, maybe 2 months before I have to travel again. And not that I don't like traveling, people say, how does a 76-year-old travel all over the world and not get exhausted? And the answer is I have a purpose. A purpose I believe in, something that's changing lives, even saving lives around the world. And we're now in, I think last I heard, 76 countries. We're about to open Japan and Thailand. I heard today wonderful stories about we have a new diamond. I think that's what I heard in Poland. And there's growing organizations in Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. And the reason that's dear to my heart, back when I was in college, I had a music group. We had 17 singers and 18 instruments. And God really blessed our group. We had the joy of singing to lots of people, and we had a great sound. We had a great director, one of the best in the United States. In fact, his daughter was only 11, but she became the #1 Christian artist in the world for a while, multiple Grammy Awards and so on, Sandy Patty. Well, her daddy and I, Ron, had this group together. Ron's still alive. He is 91, and we're still dearest of friends. But we were requested to sing at a special event at Arizona State University. It was in this great auditorium called Grady Gamage. It was the last design of the famous architect Frank Lloyd Wright. And this beautiful, I mean, it's like going into a hall, it's got the main floor, then it's got balcony, balcony, balcony. I mean, just gorgeous and perfect acoustics. And but the event was called Captive Nations League. And before we sang, they showed a film of 3 captive nations that were under the communist thumb of the Soviet Union: Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. And it was the plight of these people who said goodbye to German occupation only to be occupied by the Soviets and basically slave-like conditions. It was horrible what they went through. And the purpose of the event, and they filled the auditorium, 3,000 people, was to say, someday we will be free. And I thought, these poor, disillusioned people. I remember when Hungary declared its freedom, and it only took the Soviets, this was in about 1956, I think, it only took the Soviets a week or two to quash that. Tanks rolling in, shooting people, and young people throwing rocks at tanks. And I thought, these poor people, you know what? They don't have any weapons. They didn't have a Second Amendment like we had in the United States, nothing to fight back with. And yet they think their hope is that someday there'll be freedom. And our group was asked to do 20 minutes of patriotic music. We did God Bless America. We did all sorts of music. We did a medley, and I mean, standing ovation that lasted probably 5 or 10 minutes at the end of our performance. And lo and behold, along came a man in the United States, an actor who everybody said he's so dumb, we're going to have an actor for president named Ronald Reagan. And I remember I was at a dinner with George Bush one time, Sr., and I asked him, I said, can you remember any moment that was really spectacular between you and Ronald Reagan? He said, yeah, right after we got elected, George Bush had been head of the Central Intelligence Agency. And Reagan says, tell me what you think about our Cold War with the Soviets. And he said, well, Mr. President, it's very complicated, very, very complicated. And Reagan says, I think it's quite simple. And George Bush looked at him and thought, what the heck is he going to say? And he said, well, what do you think, Mr. President? And he said, we win, they lose. And a few years later, down came the wall in Berlin, down came the wall that had broken up all these wonderful countries and enslaved them into the Iron Curtain. And today we have people in NUMMI family members. I've been to all 3 of those countries. And years ago, and when they were free. And We have NUMI family members in Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, in Poland and Hungary, groups that are growing people that are so hungry for the opportunity and so empowered to get this product out where it can do so much good for people that they're becoming 1 stars and 2 stars and 3 stars and even diamonds. And so unfortunately, it's let's see, 8 hours, it's after 2 a.m. their time. So I'm sure there are not many, if any, on this call tonight. But it's just exciting to see this happening. And this last in the beginning of the fall, I think it was the fall, right at the end of August, or no, it was the beginning of September, I think. Ryan and I had the joy of going to Hungary. And of course, we have a triple diamond in Hungary. We have 1 or 2 diamonds, and they're growing all throughout Eastern Europe, people. And it's just so exciting. We have a person in Spain who also has a group, a wonderful growing group in Poland. She's actually Polish, who moved to Spain, and I heard she may have moved back to Poland. So we're seeing these wonderful things. And why on earth am I working at 76? I know I don't collect a paycheck. And I did loan the company a lot of money, and that's gradually being paid back. But the point is, that's not why I go to work. That's not why I travel the world and North America and South America and Central America. But we do it because we know we have an opportunity that even the most desperate, lowest of economic means has a chance, has an opportunity to pick themselves up and better their way of life. Aaron and I was asked to keynote an international medical conference in Cuba. And one of our medical members asked me to be the keynote speaker, and the government of Cuba was there and everything. You know what the average wage is in Cuba? It's $46 a month. No, $44 a month. You know what the average doctor in Cuba makes? Medical doctor that's been through medical training? $2 a month more. Okay. Now we don't have our opportunity there yet. They're not quite where they're ready for private enterprise like us. Someday maybe, because we ended up meeting, we ought to estimate, our breakthrough is so big that the head of science and technology for Cuba asked us if we could come to her office and meet with the head of medical technology and so on. So Ryan and I and Aaron, no, it wasn't Ryan, it was Aaron and I. We went to those meetings, we answered their questions, and they were blown away by our product. And so were the doctors at that conference. There were over 300 doctors from all over the world. They were ear, nose, and throat specialists. And when I asked the question, how many of you have heard of glutathione? Out of 300 or 400 doctors, 4 hands went up. They had never heard of it. In North America, it's a little better. About maybe 25 to 35% of the doctors here have heard of glutathione. And yet, it's the most studied molecule in medical science. Over 187,000 published studies. More published studies than vitamin C, vitamin E, CoQ10, vitamin A, vitamin D, all put together don't equal as many studies as glutathione. You know why? Because by themselves, none of them can do what glutathione does. Glutathione performs over 400 functions in the human body that we know about. Maybe 1,000 more that we don't know about. We're learning new stuff all the time. But we know one thing, there's no human life without it, but there's also no birds, no fish, no insects, no trees, no flowers. It all goes away without glutathione. It's manufactured by every cell in your body. It is your body's, it is your cell's primary first line of defense. Something starts to go wrong. Ooh, do we have glutathione to deal with this? That's the action in the cell. And you'll see some of that as we go in. Now, out of the 187,000 studies, I've only read about 130,000 of them. And so I still got no, just kidding. But I do try to keep up with glutathione as best I can. I've been focusing on glutathione since 2007. I was so motivated that when I learned about it, I ended up starting a company about it. I put the first $1 million into it, and then some of my friends invested more, and that company grew to about 500 million, and I exited that company. I was the largest shareholder, but was asked to exit because I didn't agree with some of the things management was doing. And but what they meant for one reason, God meant for good, because out of that, we started focusing on a better delivery for glutathione. You see, your glutathione levels decline every year of your life, starting at the age of 20. Guess when you start to officially age? To determine aging, we look at 12 biomarkers. And when those biomarkers start to decline, that's defined as aging. They start to decline at the age of 20, just as glutathione starts to decline. And we believe there's a causal effect. In fact, there's some great articles on it. One is called glutathione dissolution and the etiology of human disease. It's published in 2009. It's in the Journal of the Cell. It was authored by the medical school at the Medical University of Rochester, and it had over 600 citations to other scientific articles. It was one of the most brilliantly researched scientific articles on glutathione I've ever seen. And they showed that as your glutathione levels decline, and they showed it biochemically, not just anecdotally, guess what happens? That decline in glutathione levels opens up the gateway to 78 disease classes. In the words of the famous Harvard heart surgeon, Dr. Mehmet Oz, the diseases you fear the most. In fact, he did an entire show one time on glutathione, and it opened with the statement, glutathione, it's the most important antioxidant you've never heard of. It's what helps protect you from the diseases you fear the most. You see, lowering glutathione levels allow for some conditions that open the gateway to every single major disease you can think of. Cardiovascular disease, degenerative neurological diseases, kidney diseases, pulmonary diseases, fibrosis, all sorts of those things. And how can one molecule and the decline of that molecule be so, have such a terrible effect on the human body? Well, the answer is because it does so many powerful things. Do you know without glutathione, there wouldn't even be oxygen transfer? So you'd take that nice deep breath, fill your lungs with oxygen, and guess what? That's where it would stay. The blood wouldn't be capable of carrying the oxygen to all the cells. That's because there's the iron molecules in hemoglobin have to be reduced to a +2 in order for the hemoglobin to bind to the oxygen. And the only reduction agent, because normally they're at a +3, the only reduction agent that can make that reduction is glutathione. So that's just one of 400 functions. So every time you take a breath, tell yourself, I just experienced a miracle. Glutathione has reduced the iron in hemoglobin, allowing it to bind to oxygen so I can get it all over my body. What else does glutathione do? Well, it's the detoxifier of your cells. Everybody on this call has at least 200 industrial chemicals in your body right now, and none of them belong there. And most of them carry different levels of toxicity. Some can be very, very toxic, and some are a little bit less toxic, but they're not natural to the body. Well, glutathione is a tripeptide. It's made up of 3 amino acids, glycine, glutamic acid, and L-cysteine. And they're sewn together into one molecule through a 100 sequential step electrochemical process. Is your body amazing or what? And all of that takes place in the cell. Imagine that you are going to defend your home and you don't have a gun, you don't have bullets, you don't even have any cutlery in the house because you just moved in it. But here come the invaders. Imagine having the power to, boom, make a gun, boom, make your bullets, boom, make your knives, boom, put them in an orderly fashion to where they're going to be able to defend against any invaders. That happens in every cell in your body. And what we're going to do right now, we're going to show you some things. I'm going to talk about glutathione. If glutathione didn't decline every year and every decade, we wouldn't even be on this call. But right now, my body at the age of 76 has 60% less glutathione than I had at the age of 20. But the assault on my cells, the internal workings of the cell, everything that relies on glutathione, the need never goes down, the attacks never go down, but now I have to fight the battle with fewer guns and fewer bullets. And I know those are terrible analogies, but that's what goes on. Your cells are under a life and death attack every single day. And glutathione is the first line of defense. And don't feel bad if your doctor's never heard of it. Most haven't. But you ask any molecular biologist or medicinal chemist, hey, what do you think about glutathione? Their eyes will light up like mine. Glutathione, are you kidding me? It's the master antioxidant. Do you know all the things it does? Okay, so it's this tripeptide. And one of those molecules, the cysteine molecule, has this little sulfhydryl arm that's real sticky. It's like like those sticky spider traps. Excuse me. Now they even have sticky mouse traps, sticky fly traps. Well, that's what the sulfhydryl arm of L-cysteine, which is in glutathione, has. And it sticks to the chemical in your cells, and then it tries to get them out and gets them out. But it not only helps lower the chemical load in the cell, it's the chelator of the cell. A man who wrote a book that sold over 100 million copies. I met his fiance at a writer's conference. I gave her a glutathione product that I used to have that wasn't near as effective as what we have now. And I gave it to her because she was struggling with fatigue. She takes it home, shows her fiance, he gets on it. He was dying of mercury poisoning. He had been to Harvard and they had diagnosed him with mercury poisoning for 6 months. They did everything they could to try to get the mercury out of his blood. Nothing worked. She says, why don't you get on this? He got on it. Do you know 60 days later, he was back at Harvard and his mercury count was, he was the co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, Mark Victor Hansen. Well, he was so excited about that. He did videos for me for free. He had me address his conferences and so on. Well, that product compared to what you're going to hear about today is like comparing a skateboard, which is a mode of transportation, to a supersonic fighter. Now, I've done both. I tried to go on a skateboard and I only made it about 3 steps. And but there's been guys that have gone clear across America. I think it's 127 days or something like that to get across America on a skateboard. But I've also flown inside of a frontline jet fighter. Back when I was 19, the Air Force wanted to recruit me for a number of reasons. And they gave me a 90-minute ride in a jet fighter. Oh my gosh. Our jet fighters today can make it across the United States in 2.5 hours. I'd rather take a fighter than a skateboard. What we have today, one of our scientists on our medical board said, Steve, everybody else in glutathione enhancement, they're on skateboards. You've got a supersonic fighter, and you're selling the supersonic fighter for less money than they're selling the skateboards. And all of that's true. So let's talk about a few more things that glutathione does. We've heard that it detoxifies, chelates. Well, what else does it do? We've all saw during the COVID pandemic the importance of our immune system. What happens, our body is attacked by a virus or a bacteria. Our immune system kicks in the gear, the alarms go off, beep, beep, beep. We got an attacker. And it instantly, by the way, somebody needs to mute their mic. It instantly notifies and begins the defenders. The defenders are primarily T cells and B cells, primarily T cells. They're the assassins. They target the bacteria or virus with the intention of killing it. Now, the problem is the lower your glutathione levels, the slower your T cells and B cells reproduce. So you've got a bacteria or virus that's reproducing like this, and your T cells and B cells are reproducing like this. Guess who wins? The bacteria or virus. So you get sick, then very sick, and if still slow reproduction, you end up dying. So those T cells and how fast they reproduce is critical to winning the battle against any bacteria, any virus. Of course, antibiotics can help against bacterial infections, but they do nothing for viral infections. And so anyway, that your body's meant to deal with this. Well, when you can enhance or raise glutathione levels, the T cells can then reproduce rapidly, explosively. You win, the bacteria virus loses. Nobody that we know of with high glutathione levels died in the pandemic. Now you say, well, wait a minute, there's cofactors, obesity is a cofactor. Do you have any other infections? All those are cofactors, but guess what? Those cofactors deplete your glutathione levels and take them even lower. That's why people with comorbidity factors died at a much higher rate. Okay. Now, what happened just in COVID, what happened was if you had those comorbidity, as the virus attacked you, it created this tremendous amount of oxidative stress. We'll talk about that in a minute, inside the lining of your lungs. And oxidative stress does a number of bad things, but not the least of which is inflammation. Oxidative stress causes inflammation in the cells. So that oxidative stress from the virus ended up creating this rapid inflammation called the cytokine storm in the lining of your lungs. And that played host to what? Pneumonia. And it was the pneumonia that killed most people. And pneumonia, it also doesn't help if you end up with a cardiovascular disorder during this. I mean, there are a lot of cofactors, but most of those cofactors, the method of what's the right word, of attack is they would create oxidative stress that would create the inflammation in the lungs, and that was the killer. So, which is why so many people were intubated to try to offset that. In some cases it worked, in many cases it didn't. So, glutathione is critical to your immune system in that it enables your T cells and B cells in response to a bacterial or viral insult to reproduce more rapidly. Okay? No bacterial attack, no viral attack, your T cells and B cells don't have to reproduce rapidly. But when there's an attack in response to that, glutathione will aid their reproduction, a more rapid reproduction. Okay, what else does it do? Well, it's known let's see if I missed any the ones I normally talk about. Okay, we'll talk about its antioxidant value. It is your body's master antioxidant. Now, every cell in your body, and Keith, you can prepare that slide. Every cell in your body is attacked by 10 to 20,000 free radicals a day. A free radical is a thief, and it steals. Now, that right there is 20,000 people in the arena where Michael Jordan played basketball in Chicago Bulls arena. And that's 20,000 people. So imagine that you're on the floor all by yourself, and the announcer says, "Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?" As you focus your eyes on that man or woman in the central arena there. And we're going to give $1 million check today to everybody that can land at least one blow to that person. The cameras are rolling, ready, set, go. And you're attacked by 20,000 people. Not very good chance of you surviving. Now, in the space of 5 days, here's the attack that your cells have to fight off. That's 100,000 there. So in 5 days, you'd be talking 50 to 100,000 free radicals attacking one cell. And you have 37 trillion cells. Now, those attacks, if you can come back to me, please, those attacks are not just from the outside. Most of them are created through the metabolic process. You see, your cells need energy. So they have little motors called mitochondria, but they also need a fuel. Every motor needs a fuel. Well, the mitochondria produces its own fuel. How advanced is that? Don't you wish your car engine could create its own fuel, especially with inflation today? And but that's what happens in your body. As the mitochondria in the cell produce a fuel called adenosine triphosphate, ATP. And when it creates that, it then utilizes that to produce energy. Well, that creates an exhaust of oxygen, an oxidative response. And that oxidative response is called oxidative stress, and it has to be mitigated. It has to be cleaned up. The only thing that can clean up the oxidative stress created by free radicals, once again, they steal an electron from the cell. An antioxidant works by donating one of its electrons to the free radical, and when that donation takes place, it captures or sequesters the free radical. Now, there's actually a spectrum of free radicals. Some are produced by the oxygen in your body, some by the hydrogen, some by the nitrogen. So oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, they all produce free radicals. And the free radicals have different sources. They have different chemical compositions, and they have different structures. Now, all antioxidants are monofocus. That means they can take out one, but they can't take out any of the others. So vitamin C, a great antioxidant, can take out that guy, but it leaves all of these bad guys. Vitamin E can take out that one, and it leaves all of those. CoQ10, superoxide dismutase, catalase, vitamin A. So that's the problem. How many of each do you take? Now that you can't get enough, your body won't absorb enough. Glutathione is called the master antioxidant because it isn't monofocused. It can sequester, capture, neutralize all types of free radicals, regardless of their source, structure, or chemical composition. Today, we have to deal with free radicals that our parents and grandparents didn't have to deal with. For example, one of the real vicious ones is called peroxynitrite. It's produced by the microwaves from 5G antennas penetrating our body. And as they penetrate our body, they react with the nitrogen in our body to create peroxynitrite, not nitrate, nitrite. It lives 1 billion times longer than oxygen-based free radicals. It lives so long, it can actually transfer from one cell to the other. Uh-oh. And it attacks, this is what makes it really vicious and egregious, is it attacks your DNA. Now, I didn't tell you that one of the critical reasons why we want to lower the chemical load in the cell is it's primarily the chemical load in the cell that breaks the mitochondrial DNA. Now, as long as the mitochondrial DNA is intact, the cells can't mutate. Now, when it's broken, that cell is then at risk for mutation and multiplication. We call it the big C, cancer. And not a good deal. I've had 2 children now that have had cancer. God miraculously and wonderfully blessed them both. They both survived. The cancer's been gone for a long time. They're free and clear. But just that use of the word, one was 20 years old, the other was about 25. Just hearing that word is enough to terrify any parent, right? Well, remember, as long as the mitochondrial DNA is intact, the cell can't mutate. Now, what breaks the mitochondrial DNA? Primarily the chemicals in the cell, and glutathione's the detoxifier. That's good news. So it has the potential of preserving and protecting the mitochondrial DNA for a longer period of time, prolonging its protection. And the other one are free radicals. Free radicals like peroxynitrite attack the DNA and can break that. Glutathione not only detoxifies, but it is your body's master antioxidant. So it's critical to that. Now, the other thing that oxidative stress, besides produce inflammation, oxidative stress from free radicals accelerates aging. So would you rather age faster or more slowly? Now, I'm 76. Some of my dearest friends in life, two of my 3 best friends in life, 4 best friends in life, because I don't count my wife, she's above a best friend, have already died. One died at 67, one died just recently at 87, and one died at 75. That was my best friend, Gary Smalley. And I'm 76. We all live on borrowed time. Nobody has a guarantee that you're going to live the night, right? We had a terrible storm, hurricane in the southern United States. People before that hurricane got there thought, hey, it's a wonderful life. The next day they were buried under mud, drowning, houses collapsing. Our dear, dear Numi family in Indonesia, they know what a tsunami can do, without adequate warning. It was terrible, terrible, terrible. And so we all live on borrowed time, but let's try to do everything we can to exercise wisdom. When I was a kid, none of our cars had seat belts. Now they all have seat belts. I don't wear the seat belts because I'm afraid to die. I wear the seat belts because it's wise. It's been proven that seat belts can help save your life. And same thing with glutathione. Glutathione helps save your life in so many ways. Well, so back to aging. Oxidative stress causes accelerated aging. So slowing down by lowering oxidative stress, we don't stop aging, but we can slow down, I believe, accelerated aging. And what does that mean? That means we live longer, everything works better. It also means our mind is fresh longer. Now I'm 75, and my memory goes back to when I was 2 years and 4 months. I have a real good recall. My mom had a perfect photographic memory. I don't have that. But the fact is, at 76, my long-term memory is great. But I've had COVID 3 times, and one of the after effects of COVID is brain fog. Don't have much of that, but I do lose words that I used to have a command. As a writer, I had a pretty large vocabulary, and I hate it when I can't think of a word. Synchronicity. And which one did I struggle with recently? I was trying to think of circumvent. I could not think of the word. That's a clause that you do in a contract, that a non-circumvent. I couldn't think of that word. Okay. Now, I want my mind as young and fresh as long as it can be. But just as important as the mind is the heart, my eyes. Do you know, since I've been on glutathione enhancement, which I started in 2007, my prescriptions for my contact lenses haven't changed one time. One time. And I'm 76. That's pretty good. That's over 17 years. I think it's 18 years. Anyway, no, it's 17. It'll be 18 years. And so I want to stay as young as I can. Now, one of our athletes, we found out we make a huge difference on athletic performance in people. Now they find out we make a huge difference on athletic performance on horses as well, probably everything in between as well. But our athletes were great. We started out by experimenting with athletes. We sent them lab bottles from lab batches. And one athlete, we'll show you him right now. And we got about 8 minutes left in our presentation. So let's go to Bill Gillespie. He was the second athlete that I gave product to. And Bill is a brilliant athlete. He was a national champion when he was in college in track and field, needless to say, shot put. But he started competing in amateur weightlifting at the age of 14. He set the world record when he was 49 years old. You can see it right there. He benched 804 pounds. I think that's about 340 kilos. And set a world record, was blood tested afterwards, as he always is. Because he competes as an amateur, he's always drug tested. And I called him right after we developed this product. I called him in 2018 and said, Bill, how you doing? He said, not good. I said, what's going on? He says, well, the work's going great. He's strength and conditioning coach for his alma mater, Liberty University at the time. And he said, but my weightlifting's in the toilet. I said, what's going on? He said, well, I used to be able to lift heavy 4 to 5 times a week. Now I can only, my recovery's so slow, I can only lift heavy once a week. My body's racked with inflammation from a lifetime of weightlifting. So I hurt all day, hurt when I go to bed, so I don't sleep well, hurt when I wake up and start a new 12 to 16 hour day of work. That was his life. And my bench press is down to 700 and change, 700 pounds and change, which is 300 kilos roughly. And I said, well, that's not bad for a 59-year-old. He said, yeah, it's a world record for a 59-year-old. But Steve, I don't get to compete with the elite people anymore, the guys. And I said, well, I think I have a product that's going to change everything, because it really shortens recovery. So you're going to recover a lot faster, which means you'll be able to lift heavy more times a week, more frequency, more intensity. It improves muscle output. It radically cuts recovery time, and it improves stamina, physical stamina, and mental focus and stamina. He said, send it to me quick. Well, I did. And here's what happened. In the next 6 months, his bench went to 915 pounds. Then at the age of 60, he went to 1,050 pounds, and at 62, he went to 1,129.8 pounds. That's 512 kilos, the weight of a piano in a bench press. And it all happened. People say, how is that possible? You reduce oxidative stress, you reduce inflammation, and everything that goes with it. And guess what? You improve human performance, including athletic performance, and you shorten recovery times. Do you know we do the same thing with horses? Woohoo! Everybody get ready to lay your bets down on the Kentucky Derby. If I find out which horses have our product and which ones don't, hey, that'll be a good day. And so thanks to one of our NUMMI family members that she's now a diamond. Woo! And her name's Christy Price, and we're so grateful for her selfless, sacrificial work in the equestrian community. Anyway, we had great athletic results. I gave it to one of my friends who was she loved marathons and she loved 100-mile bike races. Now, don't Don't think there was something wrong with her mentally, because if I ever loved those, you could put me in the loony bin because I would die. You know, I want to run a marathon, but they'd have to call the ambulance at the 50-meter mark and say, come pick up the old guy. But anyway, so I gave it to her and she broke all of her records real quick. First day on it, she did a trial run, broke her sprint record. Next day, she did a distance run on her bike, broke her personal record for 35 miles. 2 days later, she's in the 100-mile bike race, broke her personal record again at the 35-mile mark, took a break, comes back out to run the next leg, and 3 or 4 miles into that, she gets in an accident, goes end over end, her face gets shredded as it hits the pavement at 22 miles an hour, broke her helmet, knocked her out. And the plastic surgeon in the hospital, she was hospitalized Saturday, Sunday, Monday, came home Tuesday night. Plastic surgeon said it would take 5 weeks for her face to clear. Well, she's swishing starting on Sunday. That's how you get our product, because glutathione can't make it through the stomach. So we swish it like a mouthwash. And as we do that, billions of particles go right into the bloodstream. And 70 seconds later, they're out of the bloodstream and they're in the cells. And so she swished on Sunday after the wreck because she had a terrible, terrible situation. And her husband called me and I said, have her pull out this bottle of clear liquid, give it to her, and she'll know what to do with it. Well, she swished and boom, literally in seconds, she was feeling a lot different and better. And so she did that Sunday, Monday. Tuesday night, she gets home and she thinks, hey, this stuff, we have a process that makes this absorption incredibly wonderful. It's called our hydrostat molecular encapsulation. So she thought, hey, maybe if I put this on a cotton ball, it'll help my face clear a lot quicker. So she did that. And then she did it 3 times, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. On Sunday, her face was completely clear. Not a mark, no road rash, no everything, no scars. The plastic surgeon couldn't believe it. She sent me pictures. I've owned 5 different cosmetic companies, and I thought, holy mackerel, we may have the world's best skincare. So I put some in spray bottles, sent them out to a few people to try, women, and said, spray your face 5 times a day and for 8 weeks. Take a before picture, take an after picture, and look what happened. We're almost done. Keith is pulling up the first slide. Here it comes. Okay, that's Diane. Diane. What? Okay, Sherry and Rhonda. This is Sherry Warner. And you can see the before picture and then the after picture. I sent that to my former formulator who had become the head formulator for the company that created Botox. He looked at it and he called me back instantly and said, Steve, I hate to tell you, she's had a facelift. I said, no, she hasn't, John. He says, oh, yeah, she has. There's no topical product in the world that can do that. Look how much brighter her face is. Look how much tighter. Look how it's opened up her eyes. Where did the wrinkles, the bags, everything is gone. She looks 10 years younger. I said, how old is she? And I said, she's 58, about to be 59. He said, well, you really did that with a topical. I said, yeah. He says, wow, you've got something nobody else in the world has. And we did. And now we're going to show you some more before and afters that prove the point. I sprayed my hand 3 to 4 times a day for 12 weeks. I sprayed my right hand, but not the left hand. You can see the difference. This lady's 84 years old. I said, how often did you spray? That was in 4 weeks. And she says, I never kept count because I had bottles of the spray all over the house. And anytime I passed one, I sprayed my face. Look at her neck. Look at her chin. Look around her mouth, her cheeks, everything. Tighter, brighter. Now you should write down these words. Tighter, brighter, smoother, younger. The 4 critical words that describe what happens with ours. You can also add a 5th word, faster than any other skincare product in the world. In fact, I asked people, that we'll show a few more and then I'll tell you what to do. Next. Okay, that's another 80-plus-year-old. That was 10 weeks. 80-plus-year-old legs became like 30-year-old legs. Not bad. Next. Okay, she was young, but she was an esthetician, owns her own skincare salon. She couldn't wait 8 weeks. She sent us the pictures after 8 days and said, look at my face. Where did my pores go? Look at how much brighter, tighter, smoother my skin is. Look at how it opened up my eyes. Steve, there's nothing in the world that does this. I said, I know. Next. This lady was 60 years old when these pictures were taken. This was after 1 month. Look what happened after 6 months. She doesn't look 60. She looks like she's 45. And that's when Aaron and I met her, and we were shocked to hear that she was 60 years old. Next, there she is. Okay. This guy was 67, 6 weeks. Tighter, brighter, smoother, younger. Next. Next. Okay, this gal's, this was in 10 days. She's young. But look at what happened to the pores. Look how smooth her face is. Look at how even the skin tone became. You know, normally I've owned makeup companies. Normally you need makeup to do that. That was just the skincare product. Next. 80 years old in 3 weeks. Next. Okay, she's in her 60s, but was a smoker. And look at the difference we made in 8 weeks. Next. Okay, 6 days, 4 weeks. She's in Nigeria. Her daughter's a doctor and gave her the product. That's Australia, Skin Day. Now, this is where we close. This guy, well, actually, we'll show one more. This guy's 94 years old. He said, yes, I love how much better my look is, but much more important is how I feel. And I feel like the guy on the right, not the guy on the left. That's what we want. That's what drives us, is helping people to look and feel younger, healthier, to perform better. We're all performers every day. Next, and this is it. 87 years old in the country that Ryan and I recently visited, Hungary. Look at that, 7 weeks. Okay, back to me. Now, we show you these pictures not just because we have the world's best skincare, but because if we do that on the outside with skin cells, what are we doing for your eye cells? The cells in your ears, the cells in your lungs, your heart, your brain, your kidneys, your bones, your joints, your ligaments. Just like the skin, they're all receiving glutathione enhancement through our process that nobody else in the world has. We call it hydrostat. We encapsulate the molecules. Most encapsulations take place with lipids or liposomes. Surrounding a molecule with fat makes them a lot bigger. And your cells don't want more fat because fat isn't dissolved easily by water. Water, on the other hand, every cell in your body wants more water. Why not put glutathione molecules in it? That's what we've done. So we're changing lives all over the world. Next Thursday, we'll be doing the same talk at the same time. Hope you'll bring your friends. We've had about 80 people on this call. Next week, let's do at least 125. Let's start challenging ourselves. This is how we grow our business. For those of you that don't know, every Wednesday at noon Mountain Time, we have a call primarily for a French team, but you're all invited. If you have people in Europe and that's a better time for them, invite them to be on this call. And we do this a very similar call each time. Like to throw in a few facts that from time to time that people aren't used to. Today, I'll give you one quick fact and then we'll end. Your eye is a trillion, not billion, a trillion cells that are precisely layered, precisely in sequence. And if there's one mistake, so you have that instead of that, guess what? You're born blind. You are a miracle. Treat your body like the miracle that it is. Your brain, your heart, your face, your eyes. Let's make the most. This body is a temple of our spirit. Let's make the most of it. Thank you, Keith. I'll hand it back to you. Thank you, everybody. We love you, and thank you for joining us today. Oops.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Once again, you keep blowing my mind. Every time I listen to you, I always pick up another nugget about the amazing dynamic thing called the human body, the way God orchestrated it, put it together, and the way it works, and how this technology interacts with that to help us perform at the highest level possible. So thanks again for sharing 100%. I want to remind everyone that next Tuesday night as well, we have the global opportunity presentation. And so if you got some folks that are kind of thinking about, taking a look at NUMMI from a business standpoint, you want to invite them and get on that call with them next Tuesday night, the same channel, NUMMI.tv. And so until then, y'all have a great rest of your week, a great weekend. Thanks again, Steve. Love you, my friend.
Everybody, we love you. By the way, the before and after pictures that we're getting from our NUMMI family members from Indonesia have been blowing my mind. It's crazy. Now, why would it act any differently? It won't. But it's just so nice because you all have such beautiful coloration. To see those wrinkles disappear, to see people that look 10 and 15 and 20 years younger in 7 or 8 weeks, it's just wonderful. And so we just keep it coming. Thank you for all you do. Without you, we're nothing. We're nothing but a company that has a product. You guys are the ones in the trenches. We manufacture in-house to try to keep our costing and prices as low as we can, but also to deliver the quality control and to be able to pay higher commissions than is the industry norm. So we're connected, we're family members, and thank you for all you do. We don't take you for granted. We appreciate you.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
again, Steve. Good
You
morning,
bet.
everyone. Good afternoon and good night. Have a great week.